It's Junkyard right here on your Classic Metal Show from their debut self-titled release with Simple Man and Chris on the phone. We got a guy who is far from simple. He's a guy who's very complicated, as a matter of fact. Good friend we've known for literally decades now, so we want to welcome back to the Classic Metal Show our good friend Hairball John. What's going on there, John?
I am just hanging with you two tonight. So.
As you should, John, as you should.
This is the highlight of my weekend.
I bet it is.
Yeah. What's going on with you guys? You're nothing but simple either, you know.
Well, we're obscene is what we are, John. We're not the squeaky clean radio hosts that you pretend to be.
Well, that didn't take you long, did it, Neely? We'll just go ahead and go right at it.
See?
Don't even need gloves. We're just going to go bare knuckle.
Of course. Of course. No, it's always good to have you, John. It's been a while since we've had you on, and boy, I'll tell you what, I had to talk about you here on the show a couple of weeks ago because I see all the goings on, especially through our good friend with Corey over there at Uncontrolled Noise, and it's you've almost like taken over the place.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you open the door a little bit for me, and I just kind of squeak in, and next thing you know, you can't get me out.
Well, John, let's talk about what's going on, man, because it's I mean, you obviously, you've been back in the scene for a while with Hairball John and Friends, but before we even start talking about Hairball Radio, let's kind of back up, since we haven't had you on in a while. Back up to, the time when you had kind of left it for a while, and what got you back in, and what got the juices flowing again.
Well, we were all doing our shows, and you guys have done it now for close to 30 years or something. I mean, you guys
not quite 20, not quite 25. It'll be 25 in 21. So we're into our 24th year right now. Yeah.
So we were doing, Chimpy and I were doing the show back in 2004, 2005, 2007. I took a hiatus because my wife was going through an illness and decided to spend more time with the family. And tragically, my co-host, the Acid Chimp, he passed away just a couple months later. And I just stayed away for about a decade, actually. It was almost exactly. And a friend of mine has an FM where he is a program director for an FM station. And he had been hounding me for a couple of years about, hey, you should come back and you should come back. And I really just really didn't have it in me. And then I was just, you know how it is, like with you guys, when you sit around and you're just talking metal with friends and it goes on forever. I miss that. That's actually what rejuvenates me. That's when I feel the most alive, is when I'm doing that. And so I kind of tossed it around for a little bit and kind of played with it when I did Hairball of Vinyl, or what was I calling it? I can't remember what it was. Hairball the Wax, when I was doing kind of albums. And then decided to just kind of do it as Hairball John and Friends. And the idea was to have friends on, and friends would be artists, or friends would be listeners, and friends would be the idiot friends here, that I call home.
Well, friends would be good to have on our show, but unfortunately, Chris and I don't have any.
Yeah. You guys might make them, but you lose them really quick.
Well, you mentioned your Hairball and Wax show, and you did some debut shows doing that. How long did that last? Because I know that was something we had. I think that's actually the last time we brought you on, as you were talking about that, and obviously you said that it morphed into Hairball and Friends, but when did you decide that you were just going to just kind of maybe shelve that idea of doing just the vinyl thing and do, kind of branch out a little bit?
I think it's because I really miss the banter of having somebody else that's in there to talk with. The Hairball of Wax was cool because what I was doing was I was playing, an entire album, but in between I was playing segments of interviews that I'd done with the artist, which was really fun to share. But to be honest with you, it was boring to do. To not have somebody sitting across the mic or like you guys where you can see each other and have that interaction is, that's the fun part of it. Otherwise, when I do a show by myself, I'm like, this show stinks enough with two. Man, you take one and it goes down to just me. It's like, okay.
Well, Chris tried that when he wasn't allowed to do dirty radio anymore with his All the News, and it got boring for him like real quick.
Yeah. Within a month, I hated it. I mean, it was fun. It was fun. The end product was fun, but doing it just sucked. You're just sitting there and you're like talking to yourself. It's like, ugh, this stinks.
Yeah. Well, because you're talking to, I mean, you're doing radio. You're talking to no one for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, at least when you have somebody sitting across from you, whether they're breathing or not. It can be Weekend at Bernie's and the guy's got his toupee stapled on. As long as he's sitting across from me and I'm talking to somebody. But that interaction where you kind of you get it's that spontaneous conversation that comes up that is the best thing about your show and in any of the shows or podcasts that I listen to. It's because it's not scripted, and when you're doing it by yourself, or somewhat, you're following kind of a script inside your head.
Right.
Well, me and Chris have writing meetings every week, and we have to come up with 6 hours worth of material. And boy, you should hear some of the bits that we work out between us, and you know what makes the cut and what doesn't. You know, so it's a tedious process, but somehow we pull it off week after week.
I love the fact that you think your listeners actually think you write and that you meet.
Well, John, moving forward to Hairball John and Friends, this outsider looking in, but you know, obviously you and I talk, you know, somewhat regularly. It's not like you just came back and we're back. The show picked up, and it didn't just stay where it was. It picked up and got some accolades and has won an award and really kind of launched to next level than even you were at the first run. No?
Yeah, it's dumbfounding, to be honest with you, because I mean I really do enjoy it. But I got back on FM. Reason why I wanted on FM is because, again, that interaction when I was on it before in 2003, the callers were a blast. I mean, I loved when people called in. And so when I decided I'd do FM again and I got talked back into it, a friend of mine in FM, she said, you're not going to get the callers. I'm like, no, yeah, well, that's the whole reason I'm going to go ahead and go into the studio and I'll do it live on the station. And she goes, you're not. And you know what? And she was right. You just didn't. And everything came down to social media. And so that's when I started doing it as a show, and then it got uploaded, and it's in the process of syndication because it's got 2 stations right now, and a third one is picking it up. And and the award, Chris, and you and I both know that that's just crazy because it was broadcast personality of 2019 for as voted on by the Michigan Association of Broadcasters. And when the program director said you've been nominated for this, and I'm like, shut up. And I hung up on him. I'm like, okay, this is a joke. And nominated and then won it. And I'm like, all right. So I actually truly had to buy a tie, and I had to buy a jacket, and I had to go and actually accept this award. And it still seems like it's kind of silly, to be honest with you.
So they actually had a place where you would actually go accept an award. They didn't just like package it up and send it to you in the mail.
No. Yeah, Neely, I thought this thing was going to be basically you walk into like a conference room, you know, and there's some people sitting around, and you walk up and you shake a hand and you get this plaque or whatever. No, this thing was huge. It was in Lansing, which is the capital here in Michigan, and it had 2 conference centers that were put together with the wall opened up for it. You had all of the TV and radio stations from, the high NBC and ABC ones all the way down to the independent ones. And place was packed with suits and evening dresses. And I'm like, what am I doing here? This is way out of my league. And what's funny, and you guys will appreciate the most about this, is that before each award, they play a small clip. And if it's from radio, they play a small clip of an interview or something that's part of the show. And if it's from TV, obviously they're showing a video clip. So they play all these little clips that are very impressive for these radio. And then for mine, of course, the program director where I was at, he sent in the clip. And you hear through this huge sound system and the lights, and you hear, the past is back to kick your ass. And I get to stand up and walk 30 yards all the way to the stage and accept this thing. Yeah, they're not going to have me back.
Now, did you wear dress shoes or did you wear your funky tennis shoes?
I got talked into being really the most uncomfortable person I am, which is when I'm dressed up. And nope, I wore dress shoes, and they hurt my feet. I'm like, what is up with these things? How do people wear these?
Well, Chris doesn't wear...
And the tie was a tie. You know, I YouTubed it. I figured out how I could actually tie a tie.
well, Chris doesn't even wear shoes.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure Chris wears anything. All I've ever seen when I watch these videos is basically just his head. So I'm concerned about what's below that I'm not seeing. And you don't see his hands either. That's even just as concerning.
Nice. Well, Neely, if you haven't seen it, you've got to look up the video of John accepting the award. I don't think I've ever seen anybody more uncomfortable ever getting the award. He goes up to the podium and he's like, thanks a lot, holds it up and out.
I'm out.
I don't think you were up there 25 seconds, were you?
No, I wasn't. And the guy that was, if you watch that video, the guy that was emceeing it looks just like Kenny G. And it was funny because when he announced it, he says, and my favorite person here tonight, and he says Hairball John. And I don't know who this guy is, but as I get up there, it's only because I'm the only one in the place that has longer hair than he does. And as I get up there, and he gives me the award, and then he kind of does that hug thing, that guy hug thing, and he says, "You're awesome." And so afterwards, we're talking, and it turns out that he was a producer for Real World for MTV, and he's been on multiple different radio stations, and including XM. And so it was kind of funny, kind of surreal.
Well, John, let me ask you something. As a veteran who's has had a long career, much like ourselves, what is your thoughts on commercial radio anymore these days? I mean, obviously you're on a FM station and syndicated and all that stuff. Does commercial radio serve a purpose anymore? And again, I'm not asking you to shit on it or anything. I just want your honest opinion about, compared to podcasts, compared to on demand, compared to streaming, compared to everything you can do on your phone. What purpose does terrestrial over-the-air radio serve, and do you see any hope for the future for it?
So what do you think the odds are of anybody that's an FM station that would carry my show is listening right now? Probably pretty slim. So it's a great question, Neely, which that surprises me. No, what I think probably the purpose that it serves is advertising for local advertisers. To be honest with you, a lot of it is playing in businesses. Where do I see it going? I think it struggles greatly, especially with how we can access everything in our cars. That's really where FM or commercial radio, I think, lived, was in people's vehicles. What I do know about it is it is completely starving for original content. So much of this is Cumulus or Westwood One or whatever they are, and these stations, no matter where they're at, are just downloading the exact same songs. They're going to play at the exact same time, and they're having no control over whatsoever. And so when you have something that is original content, it seems to be valuable to the stations. Now, what most people don't realize is that when you're syndicated, the stations don't pay you anything. What you get is you get advertising space, and you can put your own advertisers in your show, which has a value, and that's about the only way you can make money with syndication, unless you're like, Bob and Tom or House of Hair or something like that, where they've got some clout with it. But otherwise, the local advertisers, I think, they want in on that. So if you want to get a local State Farm or Billy Bob's Donut Place or whatever, that's where you're going to be able to attract the advertisers because it's localized. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, because
I will. There's the only thing that really frustrates me, and you guys know this 100%, and that is that The stations are either active rock or they are classic rock. And my hat is off to Bob at WIDL, who's the one that brought me in, and he's trying to do a classic metal. So yes, he has Bob Seger and he has old Aerosmith, but he's playing Anthrax. And then he'll turn around and he'll play Armored Saint and Firehouse, and then he'll go back and you've got, something from Blue Oyster Cult or something. But I think really that's where FM has to go if it's going to be relevant anymore.
I gotcha. Well, I'm sure you're well aware that years ago, the jewel in the crown was, I'm on terrestrial radio. I'm not doing an internet show. And now that's actually flipped now to where, you can do an internet show. Obviously, we've been internet since 2003, 100%. And,
right.
We would prefer not to be anywhere but, just due to the censorship. And I mean, due to the content of this show, because we go into all kinds of directions and discussion and whatnot, which is just not acceptable in today's PC culture. But Chris and I don't give a fuck, obviously, and we do okay in our own personal lives. So this is just fuck around time for us. And, we have an audience as well as you. You have an audience because, you're a guy who has a passion for the material that you bring, and you focus on that, and you enjoy it, and it's fun for you. And I'm sure you don't have in the back of your mind a calculator going, well, this week's show did 537,000 downloads, and each download was worth a penny, and I might get a check at the end of the month for 57 cents.
Which is a reality, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, John, let's move it forward, because the next wave, and I feel bad because I don't think I did my justice talking about this, and I figured it was probably a good time with you on to talk about this. You, in addition to doing terrestrial radio, you and Corey, and then I slid my nose into this a little bit as well.
Yeah, thankfully,
kind of had an idea, I would say have, because it's still growing. It's a growing new idea of not only doing the terrestrial stuff for you, but creating kind of our own little station network that's going to cover both the classic metal or hair metal as well as, the harder edge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, we broke it into two parts. One of them is Hairball John Radio, which is over at hairballjohnradio.com. The other part is Uncontrolled Noise, which a lot of people are listening to right now, which is uncontrollednoise.com. But it's really turned into this massive undertaking to be everything that what I'm going to call commercial radio to be. And by not commercial radio, I don't only mean FMs, but I mean specifically Sirius XM as well. We've taken a shit ton of time, and it's mostly you and Corey, at least with Hairball John Radio, taken a lot of time to diversify the playlist and make sure that it's not the same old, hey, here's Round and Round, and coming up next it's Running with the Devil. It's deep tracks. It's bands that people probably don't remember or do remember but have forgotten. And the same on the other side with the Uncontrolled Noise. It's deeper stuff. It's stuff that many people didn't get to hear. And it's a massive undertaking. There's obviously websites involved, there's apps involved. So talk about your piece of it, because your piece launched first with Hairball John Radio, and it launched last week with the app and with the website and everything else. So talk a little bit about, developing it and how it's going and that.
Well, my hat is off to Corey Harker at Uncontrolled Noise. Corey, as you well know, is just an amazing guy, and he's been there for a long time and carried both of our shows. I don't know how far back Uncontrolled Noise goes, but I know it definitely predates the Hairball John Radio show, which, so it's got to go back a good 10, 15 years. So Corey originally approached me when I came back into doing Hairball John and Friends on FM, which was just about a year and a half ago. So he approached me shortly after that about carrying the show on Uncontrolled Noise, which was great. And then he said, what do you think about doing an actual radio station based around this type of content as far as the type of music? Because that's what my show, more than likely you're going to hear more of the deep cuts, and every once in a while you'll get something that's mainstream. And at the time, I really don't think it's anything that's viable, and I don't really know if I have the time to put into it, so I'm going to pass. And in the meantime, we bought a brand new vehicle, and the brand new vehicle came with XM radio. And
right.
I started listening. We were on a longer trip, and I started listening to Hair Nation. And you can ask my daughter and my wife, because at one point in time we're driving, and I out loud went, "Oh, hell no. This is a travesty." I mean, I found it truly insulting. It made me so angry. And so next time I talk with Corey, I'm like, I'm in. We got to do something this year, because for whether it be commercial radio, and I like that you say commercial radio is not just FM, it's also XM.
Right.
For them to say that for that decade of decadence, that 80s genre, which, I'm putting like 80 to 92 right in there, before the onset of grunge, for them to say that these 200 songs represent the entire decade is bullshit. Right. And really, who are you to say that? And you're the ones that are controlling it. It is true only because you are saying it. And especially with like Hair Nation, where I become like super analytical, and I'm counting where it's 5 to 7 ballads per hour. Like, this is crap. This is, and right. I can't be the only one. I talk with my friends, I talk with you guys, I talk with Corey. Over the years, you love sharing, hey, have you listened to this band? Do you remember this band? Remember going to this concert? Have you heard this? And that's kind of just that whole geeky metal thing. And so when we sat down to do this, the idea was that, yes, you do need to have some of the mainstream in there, but man, it's going to be rare. So you don't have to play Living on a Prayer if you're going to hear Bon Jovi. You can hear something off of the first album like She Don't Know Me or Love Live, things that people are, for the most part, are going to recognize. And then the bands like Shark Island and Kick Tracy, Asphalt Ballet, McQueen Street, they've got phenomenal music that came out at the late 80s, early 90s that never even got a shot. So the idea was to put together a station that would segue between those. So you've got and we kind of went through thousands and thousands of songs. We really did. We handpicked every single song that is on the station. And the idea was to have deep tracks. So you look at Pyromania from Def Leppard, right? And you go, all right, so what songs are we going to pull off of Pyromania? And you start looking and you're like, no, the entire album goes in there. Why would you even pick one song off of Pyromania to say, or 3 songs, and say this is what's going to be in our playlist? You need everything. For the most part, if somebody knows Def Leppard Pyromania, they know the entire thing. They had the cassette or they had the album, and you listen to it all the way through. So there's ones like Tesla Mechanical Resonance and Shout at the Devil. There's probably about 50 of the full albums in there. But, to pick the songs, and as you guys, you both have experience in commercial radio, so you know that you're kind of going, we did A level, B level, and C level. So you've got like an A level song that everybody knows, a B level, most people know, and C is something that from McQueen Street or Asphalt Ballet or something. So it's kind of making that formula and then letting it pull from the pool of music you've put in it, which is what we did. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and I'm sure Corey at many times, it's a good thing we were in different states, he would have probably put a bullet in my head in a heartbeat because I was such a pain in the ass in regards to what songs, and they're all, there's so many that you go, God, this is great. Why don't people hear this? Why don't they hear Killer Dwarfs coming through? Because it's a great song. So those things are in there, and that's the fun part about listening to it, hopefully.
Well, it's
really long-winded.
No, it's fine, dude. It's been a good listen so far. I've been tuning in pretty much every day, just kind of, getting a feel for it. And the thing that's nice about it is, and this is one person's opinion, and everybody has an opinion, but I like the fact that I'm just not hearing the same old shit that I hear at every football game, anytime somebody wants to prove how rock and roll they are, they play the same 15 songs. It's Crazy Train, or it's Enter Sandman, or it's there's
Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle, and it's like, nah. I tuned in the other day, and I mean, none of these songs are foreign to me necessarily. I mean, I'm a musicology guy, so Asphalt Ballet I know every bit as well as Pyromania, but it's still kind of cool when a GNR song comes on and it's Mr. Brownstone or Night Train or Rocket Queen or something that just hasn't been beaten to death by every outlet that wants to be hard and aggressive, and they think that that's how. It's not Sweet Child, and it's not Welcome to the Jungle. It's just deeper than that. And that's what for the Hairball side of things, I think is important, is that you're not just beating the same drum, truthfully, that Hair Nation does. Hair Nation, Neely and I have joked about this 100 times on the show, where they'll be talking up, hey, Judas Priest has a new album. It's called Firepower, and it's great. And you won't believe how great these songs are, and this and that. And here's Turbo Lover.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, you shithead. Play something from the album you just upsold. It's still
lose
a
your
band
mind.
What you're doing is very refreshing, and as the whole project, overlooking both Hairball John Radio and Uncontrolled Noise as entities with the apps and everything, I think for Hairball John Radio especially, you are going to find much bigger success once people figure out that it's there, because one, it's free, and two, it's just better than SiriusXM. And I don't know about you, but any friends that I have that still listen to radio and like that kind of music, they all listen to Hair Nation. They all listen to Hair Nation. And this is a better product, and it doesn't cost them anything. So they can save $5 a month, $10 a month, and still get a better product. So I'm a big believer in the product, or in the project. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten involved in it at all.
Right.
But I'm very, especially now after listening to it for, I don't know, a month or so, however long it's been that it's been up, that Corey gave me the stream to listen to. It's a very, very strong, for people that like this kind of music, whether it's Dokken or Lynch Mob or, Rat or whatever, everybody doesn't need me to list the bands. All those bands that people like in that genre are well represented without being overdone on hairballjohnradio.com .com.
Well, that's a high compliment. It really is. And as when you go to create something that is different, it's a little bit scary. You believe that you have your friends that you can see. I have the people that I know that yes, this is what they would listen to, and this is what I would listen to, but on a global element, is it what people will really listen to? And so, you've seen the response this past week, and it's been amazing, to be honest with you. It's been somewhat mind-blowing, because I've tried to keep up as much as I can with the social media. And what it does is it does something more than put money in your pocket, which, as we all know, this doesn't. But it validates what you believed for so many years. There can be more, and people do want more. And the response that we've gotten is people saying, I'm listening to it all day long, which is a very high compliment. I listen to it because I honestly don't know what's coming up next.
Right.
And I think that there's, who was to say that a fan of Firehouse is not a fan of Megadeth either? So why can't you have them on the same station? Now, that's probably about as heavy as we go, Megadeth and Metallica. But it still has that mix, and it has, I don't know if you guys trademarked this years back, but everybody uses it now, and it's because it's classic metal. it falls right in with that. And I think that there's been a very limited access to it, and I really hope, and I like the feedback because I love the people are saying that they're enjoying it as much as they are. And when they see a Lillian Axe song come on, everybody's, they comment, hey, do you remember this one and this one? Will you add this? And it's brought the geek out in all of us.
Well, Hairball, do you believe the acid chimp is looking down smiling?
Screw you, Neely. And get me all weepy here. Yeah, I really do. I think that I credit him so much because I left FM radio years ago because of the fact that the show was doing well and the station I was on was going to syndicate the show. And when that was told to me, I said, that's fantastic. And then the person that told me said, you have to be aware that they're going to control the playlist. And when they said that, I'm like, I'm done. I'll walk away with it. And which is exactly what I did. And if it wasn't for the Acid Chimp, who I had just met literally a month or so before that, and he believed in the show, and he believed in the music, and he had a monstrous amount, he had a great job with a lot of cash, and he was single, and he built a studio for us to be able to record the Hairball John radio show. So it all goes back to him. There's no way I would be doing any of this or even believe in it as much as I do if it wasn't for him. So, yeah, rock in peace, Chimpy, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, Hairball, it's been a long ride for all of us involved, and, only the strong survive. And, as far as I can tell, looking around the room, it's just you, Chris, and I, and that's it.
Yeah, we'll make it a square. Take that circle, make it a square. You got Corey there. You got to throw Corey in. He's waving the flag even as high, if not more, because he gives us the platform. Uncontrolled Noise. You look at what we've had through Corey with Uncontrolled Noise, and we would just be talking to ourselves if it wasn't for Corey.
Yeah. Right, and I gotta tip my hat to Corey because there was a short time there where Uncontrolled Noise went dark just due to the amount of money it costs to run a online radio station that plays licensed music, and we just thought that was the death knell for that outlet, and somehow, some way, he was able to resurrect that thing up from the ashes, little Dokken reference, and make it happen again, and now it's going stronger than ever.
It is, and I envy the heck out of you guys because I love the freedom that you have. I love the fact that you have stuck to exactly what is 100% you for so many years, and for me, that's inspiring, believe it or not, because that's what I'm trying to do with, the FM station. Yeah, I've got constraints. I got to work with it. But with doing this Hairball John radio, it's truly what is me, and that's what you guys do every single week for 6 hours? Good Lord, I can't be me for 6 hours.
Well, that's because we live in those high ivory castles there, Hairball. We've risen to such heights. It's like taking a shit every day. It's just natural for us.
I've been working on my throwing arm to see if I can throw a rock through that window, and I just can't seem to reach up and throw it that high.
Nice.
Well, John, do you have anything else you want to tell the fans that we haven't touched on here?
No. Listen to both Uncontrolled Noise and Hairball John Radio. I think the two together are a perfect marriage for anybody, for people to flip back and forth. They want it a little bit more of the fluff. I'm not saying too much fluff, and more of the metal with you guys. So I think it's great. I'm ecstatic that we're all working together. I really am. I think that this is the time is coming. I think that it's a good time for it. So I appreciate you guys have me on and let me pimp my stuff because I can throw on the heels and the fishnets, and I can do it with the best of them.
Well, tell everybody where they can get your app and where they can find you on social media and all that other good stuff, all the hairballish stuff.
All the hairballish stuff. You can follow, you got hairballjohn.com, which is my own personal page, and there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff that's there. And then you have Hairball John Radio. Oh, boy, is anybody else getting sick of hearing Hairball John? Anyway, Hairball John Radio, that you can go to hairballjohnradio.com, and the app is in both Google or Android and Apple Store. And you you download it, and it's free, and it's pretty much nonstop music. I mean, for the most part. I mean, my show's in there once or twice a week, and otherwise it's just music, which is the way it should be.
Perfect. All right, John.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's been too long since you've been a guest on the show. I hope we didn't chase you off last time, but I'm glad you agreed to make a personal appearance tonight. I dropped your appearance fee in the mail today, so you should be receiving that probably by Monday or Tuesday.
Great. I got a feeling it's going to come ticking is what the problem is.
All right, well, go check out our good friend Hairball John and his new entities and his upstarts and all the music that you may be familiar with or maybe haven't heard in a million years. And John is bringing it back to you because the past is back to kick your ass, right, John?
Yeah, you did good, man. You did good.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm gonna close this out with a song. I'm gonna dedicate it to you and Corey. This came to mind while you were describing your arduous task of picking out the music for the station. So I'm going to play something from Vane, No Respect, and this goes out to you, John, from the end of Corey's gun, Beat the Bullet.
I appreciate it. Hail.
All right, here it is. It's Vane. Well, let the Hairball guy introduce this song.
Let the Hairball guy. Do I get to introduce it my way or through? Or
no,
CMS?
Your way, man. Do it Hairball John style.
Well, it's Vane on the Hairball John and Friends radio show. Now, hold on a second. Let me do it the CMS style. All right, fuckers, crank this bullshit up. Here's Vane.
I don't know if we've ever gone as far as crank this bullshit up.
Davey Vane would tell you exactly that. Chris has talked to Davey Vane. He called bullshit at times.
I like that. That's the way we should introduce every song that we play anymore.
Crank this bullshit.
Crank this bullshit up.
Turn it to 12. Let's go.
All right, John. Well, we'll catch you again.
All right, guys.
All right, here it is.
Man,
it's Vane.
Thanks.
Exclusively here. What, John?
Hail.
On your-
CMS.
On your classic metal show.
What are you doing out there? This is Davey Vane from Vane. And if you're listening to the classic metal show right now, you better be careful not to get too close to your speakers, because if you're naked, we can see you on Classic Metal Show.